At the same time, residents have now expressed concern over what they describe as a growing wave of insecurity in the area.
Kufika tukapata mshere Priscilla alikuwa ameungua sana mpaka ametoa nguo, mwili wote umeungua. Nikafika saa 11 ndiposa watu wa Hope wakakuja na ambulance wakabeba mshere wakaenda na yeye. Kila kitu kimeungua kwa nyumba, mahindi ilikuwa ndani, vitu zake zote, nguo zake, hakuna chochote ambacho kimebaki katika hiyo nyumba.
Tumesikitika sana sababu hata penye nimetoka ni siku 4 kama wamepomoanga nyumba wamepepa kuku. Sasa hapa Itumbu tukilala atulali. Hata mimi nimetoka hapa kufika nyumbani kwangu napata wamepepa mahindi kwa nyumba.
Usalama umekuwa chini na tunaomba serikali askari wa huku.
And into politics, Democracy for Citizens Party DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua has launched a scathing attack on President William Ruto, accusing him of hypocrisy and inconsistency in his international diplomacy and domestic policies.
Speaking during a church service at Jesus Exaltation Church, Bethsaida in Kaputieo North Ward, Kajiado East constituency, Gachagua criticized President Ruto's recent remarks at the United Nations General Assembly, terming them contradictory.
The former deputy president alleged that while Ruto has called for a ceasefire in Sudan, he himself accused of enabling the very conflict he now seeks to resolve.
Gachagua faulted the president for failing to clear his name over these accusations before offering solutions to the crisis.
Huyu mtu najua ameenda pale United Nations General Assembly. Kuitwa tu, watu wote wameamuka, wameenda, amebaki na watu kama 10. Kwa sababu amejulikana dunia nzima ni mtu ya nini? He is preaching water and drinking wine. Akiwa pale anakachifu mambo nafanyika Sudan. Na yeye ndiye mwenye kupeana buduki ya kuua mama na watoto Sudan. Anajifanya at what is happening is wrong. Anasimama pale kupinga abductions in Haiti, when he is a chief abductor in Kenya. Anaweza kusema hataki criminal gangs in Haiti. Criminal gangs yeye ndiye mwenye kupanga hapa Nairobi wakiwa na governor. Sasa wazungu wamemwangalia, wametoka. Ile watu wamebeba waziri moja ile ya kuuza madawa ya kulevya, anakula juku karanga akisikiza uongo. Mlimuona huyu waziri? Anakula nini? Hata yeye amechoka na uo. Sasa huyu mtu ametuaibisha. Wazungu wanatuliza hii uongo mlitoa wapi? As we are there to call out Ruto, to say what is wrong, to guide on what should happen, but the real transformation of our country will be done by the Gen Zs through the vote. Please, our children, don't let us down. You have made us proud so far by your courage and determination to correct the ills that bedevil our country. But you must go a step forward, a step further, by registering as voters. Let me take this opportunity to talk to the middle class. The middle class in this country, for the longest, have been bystanders in the electoral process. The professionals, the bank managers, the lawyers, everybody, they stay at home and wait for other Kenyans to go and vote. They go to play golf, they watch TV, they read novels, they just are just looking. But when things go wrong in this country like it has happened today, they are the greatest victim. Ruto has destroyed our middle class. The payslip holders have been ruined completely. Businesses are not moving. Pending bills have not been paid. The middle class is...
Opposition leaders led by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and the Democratic Action Party of Kenya DAPK leader Eugene Wamalwa have strongly criticized President William Ruto's administration over what they termed as deteriorating governance and rising bloodshed in the country.
Speaking during a public rally in Kajiado County, the leaders accused the government of failing to guarantee citizens' safety and blamed the recent surge in violence on poor leadership.
The opposition leaders also faulted President Ruto's decision to deploy Kenyan police officers to Haiti to help combat gang violence, alleging that the head of state is locally implicated in creating and funding gangs used to intimidate opposition figures.
Hebu angalieni double speak. Yani huyu muungwana Ruto amekuwa mtu wa ajabu. Anajua kudanganya hata wazungu. Menda na wadanganya. Anaambia kule Sudan tunataka human rights ziheshimike South Sudan. Hatutaki wanawake wasumbuliwe kule. Hatutaki mauaji. Hatutaki mambo ya goonism in Africa, in Sudan. Na huku nyumbani tunajua kwamba kikundi cha RSF hata huenda, and we are investigating this matter positively, quickly, huenda pengine wao wanapatiwa silaha za watu wa Kenya waende wakapigane nazo Sudan. Tunajua kwamba dhahabu inayotolewa Darfur inapitia hapa uwanja wetu wa ndege Jomo Kenyatta International Airport kupelekwa Uarabuni, and they change the rules of origin, ionekana kama ni dhahabu ya Kenya. Na ni dhahabu inatoka Sudan, hiyo inaitwa blood diamonds, blood gold. Kwa hiyo mambo ni ajabu ya. Serikali hii kuna kila sababu wapelekwe nyumbani. Nyinyi wa Masai mko tayari? Wa Masai mko tayari? So we actually say this mandate inayokwisha hii ya Haiti ikwisha haraka, watoto wetu warudi nyumbani. Ukienda kunegotiate waendelee, tutajua you are doing it for personal gain, not in the interest of the nation, of the Kenyan people. And if you want that mandate renewed, then involve every Kenyan leader and every Kenyan parent aulizwe waonaje watoto wetu waendelee kule ya Haiti ama wazirudi nyumbani. Haiti inasemekana kuna vigenge, kuna goonism, kuna watu ambao wanamiliki silaha kinyume na sheria kwa wingi zaidi.
Kuna mambo yametendeka tangu achukue nafasi hii. Umwagikaji wa damu, mauaji ya vijana, haswa vijana wetu wa Gen Z. Watu wa Kajiado County, kama kuna county imepoteza watu wengi katika ile maandamano yetu ya Azimio 2023, katika maandamano ya mwaka jana ya Gen Z 2024, na juzi tukiwa na makumbusho na Sabasaba, county ya Kajiado had some of the highest casualties. Si Ongata Rongai iko Kajiado County? Watu wengi vijana waliuawa kule Ongata Rongai. Si Kitengela iko Kajiado County? Vijana wengi wameuawa hapa Kitengela, na tunaenda huko kutoka hapa. Kule Mlolongo watu waliuawa. Na leo tuko tunasema umwagikaji wa damu kwisha, mauaji ya kiholela, utekaji nyara kwisha, Ruto must.
ODM leaders have launched scathing attacks on Democracy for Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua, accusing him of propagating divisive and ethnic-based politics.
Speaking in Narok County, ODM chairperson Gladys Wanga and National Assembly Minority Leader Junet Mohamed dismissed Gachagua as a leader without a clear vision for Kenyans.
The ODM leaders also praised the benefits of their party's cooperation with President William Ruto's government, saying it has brought tangible gains to the people.
They urged Kenyans to embrace unity and reject leaders who advance tribal agendas.
Katika hii serikali, na nawaambia hivyo ukweli, airport ya Narok itamalizwa katika muda wa miezi 9. Maendeleo hapa Narok, na ndio tunaona progress inaanza kuingia. Sio ni kitu ya maana. Raila anasema hapa tu tunapita, Wanga anasema ni hapa, na tunaona tunaleta hiyo maendeleo hapa.
ODM sasa chama changu ambaye nanipenda sana, hakuna siku itakaa kwa opposition. Wale wanataka kuuliza sisi kwa hiyo njia, watafute njia nyingine. Bila nilisema wakati uchaguzi imeenda, hii pia imeenda.
right, let's quickly take a look at the newspapers this morning. We do have the Standard and the Daily Nation. So I'll kick it off with the Nation newspaper. The headline reads, New Battle on Ruto Policies. The housing levy, the corruption task force, victims of compensation, shift deductions, all these are cases in court. And these are some of the policies which the president had put up in place. Look at the Social Health Authority, or at least the shift deductions, the victims compensation panel or task force that was put in place. There's an active case in court that seeks to halt them from doing their duties. The corruption task force, as well as court, suspended the formation of that presidential multi-agency team. And on the housing levy, petitioners also want the levy declared unlawful. Now, a fresh petition seeking to outlaw the mandatory housing levy, accusing Ruto of turning the project into a political tool to woo voters, adds to the growing list of state policies challenged in court. And, this is one of the issues that the president has been very vocal about. Says we want to develop the country, we want to move the country in a certain direction which he feels is fit for Kenyans. But there's always a roadblock somehow with court cases. And we all know in Kenya we've got three arms of government. We've got the executive, we've got the legislature, you've got the judiciary. And so as pundits would always argue, the judiciary is the last line of defense. And that is why if a new policy is brought in place and there's a sector or a stakeholder that feels it's not the right policy, they will rush to the corridors of court to try and stop the executive from implementing these policies.
And I think there is a statement reading there about the issue of affordable housing. And before we get to that, the Standard yesterday, our bold newspaper, was talking of, actually the headline was, the top story was the king of double talks. This is to mean you say this and you say that. This is to mean we can never. It's like now when you try to mix your conversation or what you're trying to speak to people, is like there is no way you can hold you accountable of what you say, because you say this from there, you shift to this other one. Now, when it comes to the issue of affordable housing, the key small statement there is win people for voters for 2027 political victory, and which is very true, because there are some very important things and very key things that we need to consider as a country. Instead of us going higher, starting with the houses first, or leaving the most important things, like I see it last week when we saw people are relying on mobile arms to make sure that they put a small thing on the table for their survival. So I don't think whether it's right for such a thing. It's like the same thing when Ruto before he clinched the seat, he was going to every church, making sure that he's trying to seduce these people into his game, which later we saw it's what we call password for the same, or puzzle word for the same, because people cannot feel it. So to here, I think we're still moving to the same direction unless we become vigilant, we become wise, and we try to focus on what we need for 2027. That makes a kind of a landmark in our political arenas.
Right, and obviously with the housing levy, just to add a bit on it, is that we've seen a few people that have gone to State House, and after meeting the president, they're told, we'll give you this units or this housing unit. So that may also be one of the bases why there is this legal petition. It's a question of what was the levy intended to do? When you're deducted, what was it intended to do? Was it intended that eventually people will just get them randomly? Was it intended for a specific group of people? And so these are some of the legal questions that obviously will be raised in court. Now, top of the page as well has got something to do with the top story that we did, the crash that happened along the Nakuru-Nairobi highway, where 13 people died in a 14-seater matatu after a head-on collision with a trailer. And, just behind the scenes, we're having a conversation with Jeff here on just how narrow the Nairobi-Nakuru highway is. Now, if you use that route a lot, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And especially as we are heading into a festive season in a few months, everybody will be leaving for Ushago. So there's going to be a traffic snarl-up that we've never seen before, and we've had calls that have been made to expand this road to just allow more traffic flow, perhaps a two-way traffic on both sides, rather than just having a one-way traffic that pushes to us, recording this number of deaths and cases.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned about festive season, and I also, before we started the program, I asked, how many days do we have towards Christmas? And I think I was asking the same towards what, in line with what we've seen as far as the accidents are concerned along the same road. I think for you to get to your home, if you're using Nakuru Nairobi Highway, I think you're supposed to leave here around 15th of December so that you get there. Because if you start traveling from maybe 20th there, utapata Christmas ishapita, and maybe you are going to celebrate with your family. And now for the key issues that we need to consider, or even that we have to check on when it comes to the issue of national infrastructure, is that it's the same as Nakuru. I think that is how Mombasa-Nairobi Highway is related with Nakuru-Nairobi Highway, because something, or there is transport that comes from Nairobi, or something being transported from Mombasa to Uganda through the same road, to Busia through the same road, maybe to Kisumu through the same road. So I'd like to push a question maybe to Kenya. Yeah, because that road is very narrow, the same to Mombasa Road. Because, sure. Because I think for you, we rely on the roads for transport and for business operations and transactions. And I want you to imagine if I ordered something from Mombasa to Kisumu, how long will it take? And there is something you have to pay transport, and you have to supply to your clients. So I think this is a big delay to us, and as a country, because of the collection, the revenue collection that we have in this country, I think this is a small road. You may try to expand it from one side, at least it's be a kind of a relief for our transport system.
And also to just point out, because I use that road a lot, somewhere just past Nakuru town as you're heading to Southgum, I know it was one of the areas that records very high number of deaths, and you all remember the very famous case that took lives of about more than 100 people. And what I love is that they were able to do a barrier to sort of separate the two-way traffic. They expanded that particular area, and if they can just do the same for all these other black spots, like along Kariandusi, to just ensure that even as you're going through that route, just as a traveler, you feel okay, there's something
going on. Sure.
We hope really that this will be worked upon just as early before the festivities.
But apart from that, I don't think whether we shall escape from the same issue of road carnage, because the transport is heavy and the road is so narrow. So I don't think how you can do transactions in such a scenario where you find your space is not enough and you're just forced to fit there. I want you to imagine two trailers coming from opposite directions, and there are other vehicles. There is a mat, there is a personal vehicle there. So I want you to think how that scenario looks like. And you've mentioned about Kariandusi as we still transition to a different story. When we were in class 6, I used to hear Flaspa. Was it Flaspa in Kariandusi? Or someone was asking, Kariandusi inakusaidia na nini sai? Okay, we're shifting to the Standard, and this is Kenya's board newspaper. And as I said some few minutes ago, yesterday the Standard was talking about the king of, I think that is politics. It was talking about the king of double talks. And I think we need to move to the opposite direction of the same statement, that we need to have a king who talks, who has got one very radical word, who has got a straight line of a communication. If you say this, that is what you follow. Because if you try to, maybe you're not key and you're not particular in what you're communicating and conversing to your voters or to the people that you're leading, I hope it does not go well with us as voters, because we are the people who drive this nation a bit further by oversighting. And now the Standard is talking about the issue of suicide, the silent suicide epidemic, and things. We can compare this with what we did maybe last week, but one of the issue of mental health, stress, depression, and something of such a sort, because of maybe the crisis that we have in this country, of people not affording the very little of food,
Yes.
not even rent.
Yes.
Because before maybe we talk of the issue of housing finance, yes, housing finance and affordable housing, we need to check, are these people getting the most basic things? And before this project or this agenda came, we were still living. Even if you're living under, there's a story that I saw on Thika Road, someone living under, I think, which highway? There's someone who, I think is a kind of a chokora who was living there. He's still living. So there are some things that we have to check. And the standard is saying that at least 462 people died by suicide between June and August this year. This interprets into an average of 5 lives lost every day. The deaths cutting across counties and age groups reveal a deepening national crisis. Mental health experts are now urging the government to decriminalize attempted suicide and focus instead of providing care and support for those in distress. And when the government, I think it's a criminal offense for you to to carry on your own life. And now someone is talking of the government trying to decriminalize, to mean that if you commit suicide, you're not supposed to...
Or you try.
Or you try. You're not supposed to be put in the bracket of a criminal. You're not supposed to be criminalized, or even it's not a criminal to do that. But for me, for that case, I suggest that if we do that, or if the government does that, I think these cases will increase. I think the most important thing that we need to handle as a country, that because I think it is already declared as a national crisis. I think what we're supposed to do as a country is we need to have some mitigation measures or ways to make sure that if a certain, because it is cutting across ages and groups of people, it's like everyone is in the same scenario or issues as a country. So I think what we need to have experts to make sure that we don't have to decriminalize this, because if we do that, Cynthia, I'll have an issue, maybe issue from my marriage, issue from my business, issue from my workplace, and if I feel that I'm not able to withstand this, the next thing I'm supposed to do, because it's not a criminal offense, naenda tunajipata nimejiekelea kwa mti. So I think the most important thing, or even trying to have some drugs to make sure that you can't short your life, which is, there's a country, I think we are not supposed to go that direction, because we are weakened by a lot of issues as a country. So if you say, this is not, it's like, Cynthia, you say that when I meet you, when I meet anyone there, ukinikosea kidogo, I just need to whip you and maybe see your life ending at the same spot. When we have such loose regulations, I think it won't help us as a country. Where we're supposed to go is we need to have stricter measures so that people don't take easy taking off their lives. Yeah, so we...
Right, and you know, I'd say there are two aspects to it. You know, there's the legal way, and you know, lawyers would always say the law is clear.
Yeah.
And so the law is clear on just, you know, what it means to attempt to take a life.
Yeah.
It could be your own life, could be somebody else's life.
Yeah.
But there's also the aspect of just what this person, what pushed this person to that level, and what sort of help do they need. Is a jail sentence the sort of help they need? Is counseling the help they need? Is therapy the help they need? So, you know, there are two ways to it, and it would be interesting to just see how, I'd say, psychologists and lawyers or judges will try to argue on why you know, suicide trial should be decriminalized or it should not. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about the sanity of an individual. As they say, everyone is battling something out there. Everybody is battling something out there. And so where do we get this help from? Just before we can get to that, I'd say, tipping point where we attempt to take our own lives. And, you know, I've had this conversation before here, and one psychologist was talking about just the effect it also has on somebody who tried and failed to take their own life, and the kind of life they have to live after. Interestingly, September is a suicide awareness month, so this explains, you know, why this is a silent epidemic.
And I think September is almost ending, and we need to have such a discussion in
tomorrow, actually.
So this is where we normally say that we are transforming your world. And this is where we talk everything to make sure that you whatever you find challenges, we make sure that we give you a solution. And that story, you get it from page 8 and 9, so that you read more and understand what measures are you supposed to take. Because as Cynthia's put it, if you try and you find that you are living, I think there is a trauma, and it takes a different direction. You may think of maybe trying to attempt again, to reattempt, or even try to there is that stigma, or you feel your esteem moves a bit very low because.
By the way, if you've even thought about it rather than actually taking action, but you've thought about it, you also fall into that category.
Which is very wrong. And now, Cynthia, before I go to the next story, is very interesting. We're taking people, and let me use the word transporting and import our police to 80. And I want you to look at the distance from here to 80. It's about 12,000 kilometers. You have to be on airlifted, maybe on a plane for like 12 hours or even more, because I think there are stopovers before you get to 80. And I'm trying to look at this whereby Baragoi is just near here, Turkana is here. We have Baringo here where we have bandits attacking us every hour. Security is very volatile, or we have erosion on our security within Kenyan borders. And now we are transporting our people to 80. And I think there are others taken to Sudan, I think so. And we're just leaving our country the same. I think I also have to compare the story with the Standard last week. It talked about Ruto, our president, walking in tidy streets along New York, US, and is leaving the country in some states that maybe we don't feel happy or being associated with such situations. And here the Standard is talking about bandits in uniform. So maybe we've been seeing attacks everywhere of the bandits from our borders. We've been thinking these are just normal people who have tried to maybe cover themselves or even try to attack people by the issue of maybe cattle raiding and such sort of things. Yeah. But now, I think we're getting the truth here, where the Standard is talking about bandits in uniform. And inside job, I think, despite having more police units and iron security than any other region, the North Rift remains ravaged by bandit attacks that drain life and condemn residents to endless suffering. Now, the arrest in Nairobi of officers from the police and prisons departments has exposed a criminal syndicate, confirming the grim truth. Those entrusted to protect Kenyans are the very ones abetting cattle rustling for illicit profit. So, Cynthia, I was talking of the issue of leaving our country in a state maybe where the security is very low, and maybe walking from here. Now, Cynthia, think of you carrying like 20,000 from here to maybe to Thika town, or even just along Thika Road, any shopping center around Thika Road. I think you have to be suspicious of yourself. No, you have to feel you're fearing for your security, because it's like money talks for themselves when they are in your pocket. So you feel you're protected, but you're still not sure whether you're secure where you are. You're not safe wherever you are, because these people in uniform, they are the same people who are attacking you. So we've been having the issue of attacks around on the issue of cattle rustling for a very long time along the Nandi, is it Nandi regions? Along Baringo. Baringo is in Nandi, yeah. Yeah, one of them. Yeah, Elgeyo Marakwet, the same regions. And we've seen, and we've always been wondering, how can this end? Because there are some things as a family, Cynthia, and this is a family of our government, whereby there are some issues that they're not supposed to overwhelm you. There are some things that you just to spot them, and in a very short time, the solution is gotten. But now here, we've been looking at the issue of cattle rustling, whereby Cynthia, you've got nothing else you are depending on other than the cattle alone. But now some people are there ready to get your cattle illegally or forcibly. Now here you can see the Standard is talking about bandits in uniform. So this is to mean it's like the government, there is a way it is being disguised in the same uniform to make sure that they try to terrorize these people who are in the regions, they call them North Rift regions. Yes, so, and this is for illicit profit.
Yeah, and it takes me back to the presidential debate when Ruto was vying for presidency, and he went to the presidential debate. And the question on banditry actually came up. Yeah. And his answer was that it was a political, I'd say, attack against him. And somebody was trying to, paint it as if, it's just his region and he should be responsible for it, and said it was political games. And I just wonder if he thinks the same now, putting in mind that, it's been 3 years after he got into office, and we still are recording banditry cases within the North Rift region. And it seems like this is an issue they have failed to solve. We see the different interior CSs who come into office and how they have waged that war on banditry. But the question is, are they losing that war? Are they losing that war? Recently, we did a story right here on EBN TV where a supermarket was transporting goods from one of its branches to a different branch. It had its employees in the vehicle, 3 of them, and the bandits stopped them on the road, shot one of them dead, injured the other, stole money and stole the food and left. And when you wait to see whether or not these people will be arrested, they will not be arrested. And so it's a very worrying state. And, as you put it, if we can afford to send the National Police Service outside Kenya's borders to, ensure there's safety somewhere else, we should first clean our own house. Our house is dirty. We need to clean our own house before we can go and start cleaning our neighbor's house.
This is very true, and Cynthia, because they are talking of illicit profit. So, Cynthia, when you talk about the issue of corruption and graft, there is a way, when you are benefiting from it, it's not bad. But when JV is benefiting from the same, it is not good. So I think there is a way the government is benefiting from the same, and that's why they are trying to put the police in, actually the bandits are the police. So this is to mean, because of the illicit profit, easy videos, there is the profits you get from backdoor. I think people feel I can enjoy it as I wish. So that's why you see a fight against this cattle lossing. I don't think it is ending anytime soon, because if we are the government and we're stealing the same, and we are the people who are supposed to combat the same, do you think whether this is coming to an end? I don't think so. And I think because of time, I'm just rushing. And on the cover page, we have Charles Lotira Ekidor, Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, Turkana. We have CPL Isaac Kipngetich, Turkana Police Headquarters. We have PC Ileli Cyrus Kisama, Amorero Central Firearms Store in industrial area just here. And we have another one in industrial area, PC Samson Mutongu Storeman in industrial area. And weapons in the hands of suspects, and we have 1,007 rounds of 5.56 millimeters of ammunition, the type used in assault rifles such as G36, M16, and M4 carbine. I think these are very dangerous weapons. And we have Remington Rand Model 1911 pistol, two Seska pistol firearms, firing pins. We have 19 assorted firearms, magazines, firing pins, cleaning kits, and 3 spent 9mm cartridges. So the standard is giving out the number of firearms that are outside there with firearms. And as I've mentioned, the 1,007 rounds of 5.56 ammunition. These are very dangerous, and when they are just laid bare to our people, very local people out there, because you depend on the cattle for your lifestyle and for you to live and to put something on your table. But you find people from top chambers are the ones coming to assault you. And I think I'm just reading the second story, and we're leaving it at that because of time. And when you move to Nairobi CBD, along Moi Avenue and other streets, you find small children trying to force you to buy sweets and chocolate and biscuits. And it's like it's a kind of a syndicate where big people are benefiting from the same. It's like these lame people being transported from Tanzania to maybe this country or another country. So you may find, I made an attempt to question someone who was in a wheelchair. Actually, she's a small girl. What we came to reveal later is that this person is so healthy, just walking with everything all right. But they are trying to pretend as if they are not well, they are lame, they are not able to do anything. So I think these are businesses that benefit a lot of big people around this country. So unseen army, city child vendors, and the businesses of exploitation. And This story, you can read it from the second page of the Standard so that you get to understand how small people along the busy streets of Nairobi town are being misused or even they are exploited.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we wrap it up at that point, the newspaper review. But stick around, because after the break, I'll be having a conversation with three gentlemen in studio this morning on the state of the nation. InfoTrack says 57% of Kenyans feel the country is headed the wrong direction. And so we'll be taking a look at why they feel that way, and from their perspective, what has gone wrong so far within the Kenya Kwanza administration.
And how can you make sure that we go well as a country? This is JKS. Wish you well in our subsequent program.
See you after the break.